Wherever you are and however you are listening, thank you so much for being back with us on another episode of the Virtual Jam Podcast. Today is absolutely amazing. We have the CEO and founder of Hovr, which is this amazing tech stack company that is going to make a huge difference in your conversion with your guests. They are getting 20 to 40 times increase in click-through rate. And what's amazing is he's actually has a special offer. If you want to get Hovr on your website, which you can do for as little as $2.99, he will actually waive the onboarding fee for you if you mention promo code VGM. Be sure to listen through all the way to the end. He shares some amazing statistics that are just going to blow your mind. And be sure to like and listen, and most importantly, enjoy the episode. Welcome back to another episode of the Virtual GM Podcast. I'm so excited for today. We have the CEO and founder of Hovr, Jason Craparo, and this is going to be, it really is a perfect follow-up episode. So, Jason, you wouldn't have heard the episode we just did because it hasn't come out yet, but we did industry trends, and we talked about 4 tips to best engage interested customers. And honestly, you could have plugged Hovr in as one of those 4. But I'm getting a little bit ahead of the horse before the cart. So why don't you, well, first off, thanks for being here. And then why don't you tell people a little bit about who Hovr is, and then we'll get into some of the fun stuff.
Sure. So Hovr is a software that marketers add to their websites, whatever that existing website is, to help deliver mainly video content directly on the site. And so we've got 12 patents that allow them to easily drag and drop content wherever they may want it on the site. It looks completely native, organic to the site. It's branded for them. And it's more than pop-ups or embeds. It's woven within the fabric of the site. So we have patents that transform text into content delivery. If you're mentioning a certain view or amenity you have, you can just hover over or tap on mobile, and you get a video or an image of that specific phrase that you're mentioning. So it's an engagement tool that drives more engagement, certainly more click-through rates.
It's one of those, when you see certain products you've not seen before, and sometimes it really grabs you. You're like, oh, wow, this is incredible. Hovr is one of those things. And we can't do it justice over the airwaves. You've really got to hop on and see it in action. For people who are listening, if they're in front of a computer, where would you say is the best place for them to go so they could kind of see what we're talking about?
Yeah, they can go to gethovr.com, GETHOVR, no E, HOVR.com. There's some videos there. We also use our product on the website as well. So as you see elements that you can engage with, those will be delivering videos and overviews.
Okay, perfect. So I got ahead of myself because I'm just so damn excited about Hovr. I forgot our segue. So we run on EOS at Vibrant, and so that is the entrepreneurial operating system. And what we do on every meeting is do a quick segue. It allows us to connect with our team, and then in this capacity, it allows us to connect with the audience or our guests. And so we always share one personal best and one business best. And I didn't give a chance to give you the rundown before, so I'll go first to give you some time to think. So our business best, I'm going to say we just wrapped up all of our annual marketing plans for Q2. So it's a big investment in time and effort to go and pull all of that data and then re-go over it with all of our clients. But I think it's so important it's so easy to forget what we reviewed in January. It's one thing to do that, but then you got to revisit it. And also we use it as a tool for our clients to help hold us accountable, because we're putting projections and metrics out there that we're saying we're going to hit. And so then it allows them to see how we've done in regards to that. And then for personal, man, it's been a wild summer. We've had a bunch of trips with the family, which has been amazing. Just so much great family time. I feel like it has just flown by, and I've been able to have so much connected time with my kids. It's just been an absolute awesome summer. We just got back from a place called Priest Lake up in northern Idaho. It is like one of the coolest places I've ever. I feel like I wasn't even in the country, to be honest. It was just, and what is even cooler is I thought the water was going to be unbearably cold, being 10 miles shy of Canada. Water was 80 degrees.
Must have been a shallow lake, maybe
300 feet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I don't know. Defies logic, but man, was it amazing.
That's perfect, though.
Yeah, it was perfect. All right. So what about you? What's your business best? And you can go for any period of time that you want. Business best, personal best.
In terms of the best thing that happened this year.
Yeah, whatever time frame you want to use, a week, a month, a year.
I'll say when we were at High Tech, we, we spoke to a lot of people, and culture is really important to Hover, and my values shining through to the team and them, living them out as well is pretty important. And so, what was really cool was we had a prospect come up to the booth at High Tech, and I wasn't around. And we've done this before, but the Duke University Hospital System came up, and they were talking about their hotel, and they specifically cater to parents whose children are getting treatment at the cancer centers. And my team, without me being there, said, our CEO will not allow you to pay. He's going to want to do this for you for free. And they were really excited. We're moving forward with them to be able to do this. But from a culture standpoint, from a leadership standpoint, we're landing a lot of business, we're growing, we're scaling, we're raising money constantly. But to see my team respond when I'm not around, kind of in the essence of my heart, what I would want to do for people. So that's kind of an emerging segment. Something that we're going to end up putting more time and energy into is if there's hotels that support people with learning disabilities, cognitive disabilities. If there's, folks that are going through cancer treatment, I know there's one in Iowa as well that we want to support. And one of our advisors, Chris Green, is bringing a couple opportunities for us. So we have the software, and if we can enable it for good and have our teammates without me around, being able to reflect my values, that's definitely a huge win for me.
That's awesome. I love that. There's actually annual animal sanctuary, like adoptive center out here in Southern Utah in Kanab called Best Friends. Big corporation that, they've rang the bell at the New York Stock Exchange. So maybe I can do a connection with you and them, because your product would be great for them, showing the adoption process and all of that. And they're doing a lot of good out there. So that's an awesome business win. What about personal?
Personal, I'll piggyback on yours. I took the family out to San Diego. We have a wonderful new partner in Evans Hotels, and we stayed at their property, the Bahia, for a week. This was about a month ago. Had a wonderful time, got to unplug. And then recently, this is just this past weekend, I took my 8-year-old son to Oshkosh, Wisconsin. They have their annual fly-in. It's the largest fly-in in the world. Over 700,000 people come. Some people camp underneath the wings of their airplanes.
700. Wait, how many people?
700,000.
Are flying planes into this place?
I think about 100,000 fly-in.
Holy cow.
We flew into Milwaukee. We took a little Mercedes Sprinter camper van up. But just to get to see him as an 8-year-old boy we have a 5-year-old girl and a 6-year-old girl, just us hanging out for 5 days, camping together. We caught a couple of Brewers games. He got to do sessions where he was learning, how to be an air traffic controller, flight simulators, how to debug electrical circuits, and all the air shows. It was just great to be able to connect with him. And I'm a pilot, so I've done aerobatics and loops and spins, things like that. And so for him to be able to see that and meet some of my friends up there was really cool.
That's so cool. My son's also 8, loves airplanes. He would just absolutely. And it's funny, I took him on like a daddy-son date last night. Went and did some putt-putt and arcades and dinner. And it's like, they just love it, man. My son, when we got the truck to when we got to the arcade, he never stopped talking for a second. I don't even know if he breathed, And he's telling me like, yeah, Dad, did you know Lego started in the United Kingdom? And I was like, I didn't know that. And he's like, actually, let me look it up. And he just like, he wouldn't stop, They just love that time with us. It's such a great opportunity to do that with them.
I don't know what it is about arcades. My kid's a magnet too. And then we got to do, I don't know if you've been up near Wisconsin, it maybe isn't too far from you. We went to a Sun Outdoors Jellystone Park just for the day in Caledonia. They have one of the largest aqua parks.
Wow.
I believe it's called the Bear Paw Adventure Park. But imagine like a floating adventure obstacle course.
Yeah, we actually just got a Jellystone in Southern Utah. They just opened one here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it was amazing.
Yeah, I haven't been yet, but everyone says it's awesome.
Yeah, really cool.
Okay, well, let's get into a couple things. What's so cool about Jason is his background story will just blow your mind. And then really it's like, I got to get you on Winning the Moment podcast too, to tell your story, because your story is just remarkable. But I had the pleasure of meeting Jason at BITAC. Was that the Independent last year? Is that where we met?
No, it was the sales and
That's
marketing.
right. That's right. It was this year. Yep. Sales and marketing. And that's when I got to be introduced to Hovr, and I was just so impressed. And Jason and I are actually going back to BITAC Independent, 818 through 820 in Amelia Island, which is going to be a great one. I'm sure you guys are just going to absolutely kill it at that event. But we have an episode coming up, 2 episodes from now. We're going to talk about hospitality events and the importance of those in the industry. And you just obviously talked about HITAC, and that's one I've not been to. Can you talk a little bit about HITAC and what you guys saw there, and if that's an event you're going to always be returning to?
Sure. Yeah. So there, this one was unique, and I really appreciated the layout because it was high tech and HSMAI in the same convention center at the same time. So what we did was we actually flew everyone from our team. We were only 9 people at the time, so we flew everyone down. We divided them up. We had a presence at HSMAI for more sales, marketing, revenue buyers, and then we had high tech, more CTOs, CIOs, and some marketing buyers as well. The high tech event was really awesome. We had a 10 by 10 booth. I wouldn't say we were in a central location, but there was a lot of foot traffic. Some of the breakout sessions were really great that we attended as well. I had Chris Daly, who helps us with PR there. So I was bouncing around from each event, spending 30 minutes at each and then doing some media sessions and interviews, things like that. But our team really enjoyed it. They enjoyed speaking and just getting some face-to-face time with partners and customers and prospects. There were tens of thousands that came through high tech. HSMAI is a different format because it's not a trade show booth. It was more of there's sessions, and then in the back of the room, you have some of the vendors standing there. So the networking opportunities at HSMAI, when folks were not involved in the content, that's really when we got to engage face to face with our prospects and customers. But each of those it was spectacular. We've had so much interest from it. We will probably onboard over the next 6 months about 500 new clients just from those 2 events, which was pretty spectacular.
That is incredible. It's amazing to see your guys' growth, because we met, I can't remember, it was January or February, I think.
February.
And you guys have just been like a rocket since we met.
It's interesting because people are always like, oh, I love the product, and the product is great. Rachel, who is our VP of product, she's an incredible designer, incredible on product, but it's really our customers and our prospects that help guide the product. We just continually obsess over their problems. So these are people that are having to do more with less resources. They're budget constrained. They have really great ideas. The marketers we work with are educated and experienced, and they have good ideas, and they just feel hamstringed. They want to make changes. They want to do things. They want to have immediate impact on the website, provide a better experience. And so we just respond to their needs. And every 2 weeks, we build new features and upgrades. So if we talk to someone and they don't even have to ask for the feature, they may just pose a question. Can it do this? And we'll say, it can't right now, but is that something that is important to you? How would you use it? Let's talk about this. And then 2 weeks later, that feature's coming out. And so just really listening to the customer, keeping them front and center, and obsessing over solving their problems has, I think, been the catalyst for why people are responding so favorably to what we're offering.
That's what's so cool about software, is like your product is always evolving,
Definitely.
So you had shared some stuff before we got recording about some of the statistics as to how Hovr can make an impactful difference in your customers. And again, for our listeners on that last episode where we were talking about, how do you best engage those already interested customers, which Hovr specifically lives on your website, which means you've already done some level of due diligence to get the guests to you. But even once they're on your website, I think the statistics are a travel consumer is going to check at least 7 different platforms before they book. And so what are you going to do to stand out amongst your own competitors, right? Because Expedia is also representing you and wants your business, and so does Booking.com, and so does Airbnb, and so does a property that's similar to you right next to you. And so how are you going to stand out in such a crowded marketplace? And I think Hovr really presents an opportunity for that. And so our listeners, most of our listeners are probably in that real boutique space and smaller properties, smaller budgets, but I think Hovr can be a great solution for them. So do you want to talk about some of the ways that you guys are able to deliver and some of the success stories that you've seen from your product?
Sure. The main reason why we exist is that for these boutique independent properties, luxury hotels, they do a really good job of getting people to the website. In fact, most buyers will actually visit the vanity URL or the website before they book an OTA. So they had
Yeah,
an opportunity
right.
to
Absolutely.
book that individual. The problem is that so many times the questions that people have while they're booking, they go unanswered on the website. People may never navigate to your gallery. They may never navigate to your resource section. And so oftentimes what we find is those people leave the website. They go to YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, or an OTA. They want to see 4,000 pictures. They definitely want to see video. And that's part of their process. Expedia reported that before you book just a weekend trip, you'll visit 38 different websites.
No.
That could be everything from OTAs to YouTube to a DMO as well. And so what a beautiful thing to be able to answer those questions while they're on the site so they can book direct. And that's really where we have stood out. It's what questions are, and when we have a client come in, we say, what are you getting questions to the call center for about? Your DMs on social media, some of the comments people are asking you on social media. Let's go to the front desk and ask them common questions that they get from people calling in. And then we can begin to form a content strategy in the right context. Everyone has a content strategy. Not a lot of people have a context strategy, which is when someone is reading this paragraph, what other questions are coming up and how can we use content touches where a human touch was maybe once necessary? And so we build those content strategies sessions, those content strategies for our clients before they go live. That's contributed to the results. So it's not pop-ups, it's not spam, it's not unwanted videos. It's as I'm going through the site and giving you time in my decision-making journey, these questions are getting answered through content touches. And so we believe that educated and inspired site visitors convert. So that's our job, is to educate and inspire you enough to go into the booking engine. And then we hypothesize that a more educated and inspired site visitor going into the engine will persist. They'll have enough momentum to persist through and book. And so that's some of the analytics that we shared with you. 20 to 40 times the industry average click-through rate. That's across the board. It's not a cherry pick, one time, one customer, one scenario. That's what all of our customers see. And they see it from day one. Most tools that you use, you plug it in and there's this waiting period, or services you may pay for. There's a ramp up period. Day one, that initial hour, you start seeing video views, clicks directly into your booking engine. And so it always works, and it works from day one. The hour you plug Hovr in, it starts working for you.
That's amazing. Well, one thing that you touched on, a couple things I thought of. One, I can't believe it's now 38 websites. That is just, or 38 platforms, right? Because you're talking YouTube, Instagram, all that stuff. That's amazing. And then the other thing I'm thinking of, because you're talking about how do you get them to book with you on those 38 different platforms. But I think what you're doing with Hovr is you're building trust that like you are the authority for your own property, which is sad because a lot of times the actual website doesn't appear to be the authority. Like I've gone on trips to Mexico, or like what I'm really thinking of what I'm looking for in a beach property is like, I want to know, is your beach nice or is it gross? Because everyone's got that nice picture of the beach, but like, is there seaweed there every day? And can I get into the water? And so like, I'll go to TripAdvisor or some platform like that, see guest pictures, read guest reviews. But at that property, it was using Hovr, and it said like, enjoy a morning at our beach. And then I put my mouse over beach and a video comes up and it shows them like manicuring the beach every day. Because like the property I just stayed at last year in November in Cancun, they had the seaweed because most of them do, but they manicured it every day. So like when you went out there in the morning, it was perfect. And so if they had a little Hovr video that said like, we meticulously manicure a beach, and I put my mouse over and it showed it, I would instantly feel like, oh, okay, great. I can stay here,
We have a client, Pink Shell, that is in Fort Myers Beach, and they're using a Hovr pin right on the homepage. And that pin is actually a live video feed overlooking their beautiful pool and the gorgeous ocean beach right there. So they are
live.
Yeah, it's a live feed.
That's
so
cool.
You don't have to worry that this was this was a video they cherry picked from 2 years ago.
Yeah.
They're getting a live look at the excitement and the action and how many people are there, and how nice the weather is right there. I mean, the beaches, they're right at the steps of the beach. And so this goes to reducing risk in the consumer's mind. Coincidentally, as you increase confidence, you reduce risk. And that's what we tell our prospects, when we're talking to them or I have the opportunity to speak. We're really talking about how do you move someone to an emotional state on a website. You would think that that's pretty hard to do, right?
Yeah.
How can I move you to an emotional state? And in particular, which emotion are we after? Well, we're only after excitement. And excitement is defined by the anticipation of an experience that's novel and unique. So if we want you to become excited, we need to show you things that are novel and unique. We don't want to talk about the hair blow dryers and the alarm clocks, right, and the desks in the hotel. We want to show you the moments that matter. Is it, like you're saying, fishing with your son? Is it having a cup of coffee in the morning on the deck? Is it having a glass of wine at the fire pit? So highlighting those moments that matter to get you excited, to get you to book. So we want to move people to excitement, reduce the risk, and increase the confidence, and then they're going to book.
Well, what's so interesting about that, so I was just talking to a client a couple weeks ago about video, right? Because video is really going to engage people so much more than images are. And we'll have videos on our homepages, like as the hero, right? And so like the Dwellings, for example, has an awesome hero video right now. They've got this incredible trail that leads down from their property to Confluence Park, and there's a river with a rope swing. It's amazing. And that does that excitement piece you talked about. But once you hit one fold on the site, one scroll, the video's gone. So, and it's like, and we know people's attention spans, they're not going to sit there and watch that video for 30 to 40 seconds of entirety. But if we then cut that up and used Hover, so that way, like, it relived in other places, and helped tell that story. Because I think video is so critically important. It's why we record this podcast, right? We know that a large majority of our listeners are going to be driving in their car, listening on Spotify or iTunes. But there is a video component that's very important. And even if it's not as important today, if we keep doing this episode 4 years from now, that video library is going to be infinitely valuable to us. And that's just a podcast. That's obviously 20x that for a property.
Yeah, I mean, we just recently read that 89% of consumers want more video from the brands that they engage with. We've never heard anyone complain that they consumed too much video about a property.
Oh, well, I love that property that had a live video because, like, to what you said, most of, at least in the properties we're seeing, our booking window has shrunk so much. Pre-COVID, it was about 100 days. Then it got that really, really short during COVID. But even now, I would say it's most of the bookings come in less than 30, and a high majority are coming in less than 14. And so that live video is a real value add, because if there's a gallery and I'm looking to book right now in July, maybe that picture was taken in April and it's not a great representation of what the beach is today. But if I can see a live feed of it and I know, like, oh, wow, this is what it looks like right now, that again is going to increase my urgency and belief in the product to be able to make a buying decision.
Yeah, my wife do that. My wife and I do that all the time with booking. We're in that 14-day window because we're also tracking the weather. I think that I had the opportunity last October to do a chairman's address at the Digital Travel Summit. And as part of that, I had to interview everyone that I was going to bring up on stage. So I talked to them for maybe 15, 20 minutes a couple of weeks beforehand. And I'm talking with a VP from Travelocity, and he said that the stat that they have is over 50% of the time someone books, they do so to a destination other than their original search term. Over 50,
wow.
50. So if you're searching Miami, you end up in San Diego. If you're searching Chicago, you go to Dallas. Over half of the time. And so my wife and I, when we plan a weekend trip, absolutely, we're watching the weather. If Miami's going to be raining, we change the trip. We'll go to Chicago. We don't just need to be. People just don't need to be in a certain area anymore. They're flexible. Some of the American Airlines introduced last year as well. It used to be Southwest. You could just change with no change fees. Now all of the airlines, if you buy a certain fare, you can change it. And so plans are changing. People might book one thing, travel plans change, or they're offered a better time. We believe that this statistic offers a great opportunity for Hovr because as a hotel property, you now have the opportunity to help people discover a new location, help them. You can convince them basically to go to a new destination. If you were thinking about Miami, but the Bahia in San Diego shows you a better time, they've got the cabanas, they've got the Bahia Bell, the boat, and you want a family vacation, you may go out there because obviously the sunshine is always shining out in San Diego. But there's opportunities to kind of sway you away. And I think that window makes a lot of sense, that 14-day window. We see it ourselves. We change our plan last minute quite often because if we're headed to Chicago, it's raining, maybe we'll go to Nashville this weekend.
That is so fascinating that 50% of them end up somewhere else and even like not just weather, but I've had plans to go somewhere and then looked at flights and the flights just weren't good. And so I go somewhere else where there's like a direct flight. You know what I mean? So that is fascinating though. 50%. It really makes you think, from a marketing perspective of like the net you're casting, that you can actually be a little bit wider because you may be able to get someone's intrigue who's just looking for, like what you said, a family vacation, but maybe they don't yet have a destination in mind. And so you can kind of put yourself out there, and then you could use a tool like Hovr. So when they get to your site, because really what we're doing is storytelling, right?
That's it. Yep.
That's ultimately what Hovr is.
Most of the websites we see, no fault, they're set up to convert. And that's wonderful if you arrive on the site and you know you're wanting to book that hotel. Not so many that we see are set up for discovery, that are set up for that over 50% that say, well, let me quick look at a boutique independent hotel in Santa Barbara. Let's see what they have, right? And so that hotel now needs to be set up to show the surrounding area, the farmer's market on Saturday, the fact that you can get a trolley up to the main drag on, every hour on the hour. So setting up the website to help answer some of the questions that people are going to have, instead of allowing them to leave. What's it like? What are we going to do when we're there? How are we going to spend all of our time? We can't very well just be at the pool the whole time. So setting it up for discovery with video content around the neighborhood, framing it around the larger context of this trip. Very rare people would just stay at the hotel unless it's kind of like an all-inclusive deal.
That's actually really interesting because we're in the middle of doing a rebrand and a website refresh for this really cool property in Belize. And the property is so amazing, but the website just has not told that story, right? And so we're in the process of redoing it. But maybe Hovr is exactly what we need to incorporate in that too, to tell a bigger, because it's not you're not just going to Belize to just stay at the hotel. You're not traveling that far to never leave, right?
I love Belize.
And so, yeah, I know you guys do. That's where you did your honeymoon, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, man, I love that. Well, curious, Jason, for our listeners who are listening to this, like, man, I need Hovr. What's the best way for one of our listeners to go about like getting Hovr set up on their platform? Is there a link on your website or someone specifically they should reach out to? What's their best way to do that?
Yeah, because we want you to be set up for success. We do go through a process of intake, training, onboarding. We come up with the strategy call with the clients as well. So if you visit gethovr, GETHOVR.com, you can book a meeting. You can email me at jason@gethovr.com and would love to facilitate getting Hovr on the site. Setting it up is super easy. It's just a copy paste of a snippet of JavaScript. It goes on the site. Then you never have to talk to a software developer again. The marketers on the site can handle most of it. So that's how to get a hold of us. And we do have this really great new feature that a couple of our clients are using called Pathways. It's fully immersive mobile. It's like having your own Instagram stories, your own YouTube shorts, your own TikTok right on your site. So folks just swipe up to get to the next video. They can go into and see the pool, the spa, the gym, anything that they want to look at. And then they can book right from there as well. So this is the way that, especially a 25 to 40 demographic, tend to consume media. And so now it's not about just watching a video on the site. It's about watching it in the right format, very short form, maybe clips that are 3 to 10 seconds, and then you're on to the next video as well.
So if someone's listening to this and they don't have professional like videographer or photographer, and they're like, man, I love this, but I don't have the content for it. How easy is it to build in? Like if I just have a 12-room property on the coast and I've got my cell phone, can I efficiently get the content that I need to be able to utilize Hovr in the way it's intended?
So that new feature that I mentioned is all portrait. And we've actually just had folks go out with a stabilizer and take that video content. It looks amazing. It looks as if it was taken professionally, but it's just a stabilizer that your phone's on. You can certainly have influencer content if you have professional video services. We have partners that'll go out all around the country and take the content for you. That just comes at an extra cost.
Sure.
You also can get content from YouTube, or we have a feature in Hovr that allows you to get, it's called guest submitted content. So if your guests scan a QR code that's in the room or the elevator or the restaurant, they can submit their own authentic user generated content to you. We procure the rights management for you, so you can use it on social.
Oh, I love that. That's brilliant.
Yeah. So, and we also, a lot of people have images. So we have on that fully immersive mobile, we built a feature that allows you to have images that you may have, because a lot of people have images. You may not have video. You can use images with an audio track. So if you're up on a cliff and you're showing an image, we can make an image appear like a video with additional audio. So you're invoking more senses. You hear the wind howling from the top of the south.
That's awesome. I love that. Well, I don't know how your pricing works on like a one-off if a mom and pop wants to get Hovr, but is that something you can share? Or is that like you got to go through the discovery process first and then figure out what your cost is going to be?
Yeah, well, I could just say it starts at $299 a month, depending on how much site traffic. Some of our clients have 20 million monthly unique site visitors, so it could be in the thousands. But normally, and that's all inclusive. And there's an annual agreement, but we allow all of our clients to have a 30-day out. So we don't want the clients, again, just that innovation stack of what are the clients telling us? What do they need? They don't want to be locked into long-term agreements with no outs. So we responded to that. And so starting at $299 a month includes everything, every single item. And if you're a Hovr client, every 2 weeks as we roll out with new features, including generative AI, the pathways, fully immersive, all of our existing clients automatically get that at no extra charge.
That's awesome. You guys very similar to us, 30-day out. It's like if it's not working for you, don't worry about it. What I want people to be thinking about as they're hearing that price point is to remember to what Jason said, that we're seeing, and I say we as in Hovr, 20 to 40 times increase in click-through rate. And so imagine, and you may know this, right? So if you're a small operator, you may know what your conversion is. Run the math on that. That's going to be the best $299 you've ever spent, right? That's an absolute, definitive, easy decision to make.
Well, with that 30-day out, you would think people would exercise it. We have a 100% retention rate and a 100% trial to close rate. So if you try it, you usually buy it. And if you're buying it, you usually never stop buying it, because every client is ROI positive. At $299 a month, if Hovr contributes to one sale on the first of the month at 8 a.m., you're ROI positive for the rest of the month. And it's something that, is resonating with people, I think.
Yeah, I think it'd be hard pressed to not break even, because even if you're running, $150 ADR, you only need 2 bookings over the course of 30 days. If you're increasing your click-through rate by 20 to 40%, that's going to be pretty hard not to get that.
We tell people that it's your traffic. You either earned it or bought it. We're just contributing to the sale. We're trying to do our part in educating and inspiring them into the engine. And then we also work in the engine many cases as well, depending on which one you want us in. And so, we can also help on that final leg of the conversion to upsell someone maybe to a suite or a different room type that comes with a balcony or a larger price point as well. Folks use us in that capacity as well.
Yeah, I love that. And I like the transparency of like, we're not getting you customers, we're taking the customers you've already gotten and doing a better job of converting them, right? Because this is just a part of the equation. You've still got to get the intrigue to your website, but once you're there, remember, you've got 38 competitors on average, and 50% of people who may even want to go somewhere else. So there's just, and that's really what we talked about in the episode before this one, is how difficult it is now to compete in the hospitality industry as it is today because of all of those statistics that we mentioned. And so you really need every tool available to capitalize when you do actually get someone to your website, because that is a golden gem.
That's what we're trying to do. Level the playing field. Give all of the independents better tools, not even as good a tools, better tools than some of the OTAs have. Give a better experience, a more engaging experience, but certainly leveling the playing field, allowing them to look a lot bigger, even without the cost and the infrastructure. They don't have to build it themselves.
Yeah, I love that. That's brilliant. Well, Jason, thank you so much for the time today. To all of our audience listening, make sure you get online and go see what we're talking about, because it sounds cool, but it looks even better. So be sure to get online, check it out. Jason, I can't wait to catch up with you in BITAC in a couple of weeks. And just thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure. We're going to have a blast. I appreciate you, Cody.